Hello and welcome to the Hybrid and Online Class Delivery Techniques course. My name is Elias Merab.
And my name is Charles Pluto. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. In this module, we'll talk about how you can engage with both of your audiences in a hybrid scenario.
That's right, Charles. Keeping your audiences engaged is one of the most important aspects of delivering in a hybrid environment and finishing successfully. So, let's talk about how to get your audience involved. Whether it'll be to participate with others, join in on a debate, or add to group discussions.
In another video, we talked about creating questions to help you prepare to deliver your content. While these are great for helping you prepare and let you easily gauge how well you're connecting with your audience, they can become a crutch. You'll want to make sure that you mix in activities to keep your audience's attention. I mean, we all have phones and laptops. If your content isn't engaging, then something else will get their attention.
Not only does an activity keep their attention, activities are also great ways to reinforce the objective that you're putting across. One great way to use activities is to make the audience use a lab environment or interact with a handout that you've given. If you can get your audience to perform a query or search for something specific, not only are you keeping them engaged, but by getting them to interact with your content, you're helping them learn.
That's certainly a helpful tool for engaging and reinforcing one or more of your learning objectives. I would also add that the methods you use to ask questions or to get your audience to perform an activity matters. If you ask a question to your audience, whether it requires someone to research it or not, make sure that you give them time to answer it or look it up. That also brings us to our next point, to get your audiences engaged with each other. When you have a face-to-face and a virtual audience at the same time, it's important that you integrate participation and engagement between your audience types. You don't want one of your audiences to feel like they're left out.
That's a good point, Charles. When you have questions or activities, try to integrate the two. This is especially true if you need to break out into groups for labs or activities. Try to make sure that groups include someone for both audience types. Whenever you ask a question, give both the face-to-face audience and the virtual audience a chance to respond. And with any virtual audience, you might have to ask them specifically if anyone has anything to chime or add to the discussion.
When you're able to get communication and participation between your audiences, you want to keep that dialogue open. Now, this seems like something that would normally be straightforward. I mean, after all, we all put slides in our deck to prompt us to see if the audience has any questions, or we say to the audience to feel free to interrupt and ask questions at any time. Taking from our experience, Elias and I have been fortunate enough to present to different audiences around the world. The same presentation style doesn't always work for every audience.
That's absolutely right. That's a hidden fact that it's hard to be aware of for different cultures depending on where you're presenting that can prevent you from having an open dialogue. I have an example that happened to me a few years ago. I was asked to present a session in a different country. I got dressed in something that I thought would be good to present in, button-down shirt and pants. I felt comfortable in my own skin that way. But I was told by the event organizers that I was too formal. The audience and culture wanted jeans and a polo shirt so that they can connect with them better.
The possibility of dressing more formal than your audience is certainly interesting. The fact that it could prevent you from having an open dialogue with the audience can be hard to overcome, especially if you weren't aware of that beforehand. I know when I've presented to an audience in a different part of the world, I've always learned something new about that culture. Elias, why is keeping an open dialogue important?
Well, Charles, by keeping that type of setting, you encourage debate and engagement from your audience. It might or might not be obvious, but some of the most successful presentations have great audience participation, or at least keep their mind active while you're presenting. The more alert and focused they are on what is being talked about, the more they'll retain from your presentation.
That's very true. The more engagement that you have, the better the end result will be. That doesn't have to necessarily be in a traditional way of asking questions or giving them something new to think about. You can also challenge your audience to come up with other ways to think about the content that's being presented. By encouraging debate, you can challenge them to come up with a different idea, scenarios, or applications for something, depending on what you're presenting.
Of course, one key is to manage this type of debate well. You don't want to start losing other parts of the audience, going over your allotted time, or ruining the flow of your presentation. We talk about things to avoid in another video in this course.
I think we've really covered some different ways to keep your audience engaged. Thanks for watching this video, and we hope that you enjoy the other videos in this course.